So, wanted to take some time while I'm on the road and thinking about the MRS system, kind of address maybe some questions and concerns that people have, describe a little bit more about the system as I perceive it, and kind of set you at ease about how I'm trying to pursue this and the capabilities and the expansion that's going to be available through this system. So if you take some time to go to the website, which is wb5vdg.com, that's Whiskey Bravo 5 Victor Delta Golf.com, and read through the page that tells you about the service. Now, it is lengthy, and it's detailed, and it's a little technical, but it's not anything that a normal person can't read through and understand a little bit more. I try to keep it generic and not high-tech. So, the thing about it is, what we want to accomplish is fill in some gaps that I see in traditional amateur radio services. This is not to replace those services, it's to complement those services. It's to fill in those gaps, as I mentioned. One of those, I'm on the road right now, and I'm traveling about 90 miles between two major cities in Louisiana. And in between those cities, now including inside those cities, we've got 2 to 3 repeaters, 2-meter repeaters that are in both cities. And while you're in those city limits or within range, you can hit those repeaters if you've got the frequency, you've got the tones, and you got the information to actually make the connection. Otherwise, if you don't have the information and you're mobile and you're traveling through the area, then you're going to have to stop, pull over, whatever. You're going to have to find that information, program it into your radio properly in order to make that connection. And then you're going to have to make a contact with somebody, introduce yourself. All of those formalities just changing from one city to the next. Now, I'm on the road going 70 miles an hour. Well, not right now. I'm in a construction zone to 60 miles an hour. But I'm traveling through about 3 smaller towns or smaller cities to get to my destination. And those cities actually do have those repeaters. Now, I do live in the area, and I can look those up in a repeater directory, and I can pre-program my presets on my radio and all of that. But it's still a lot of work while I'm mobile to go ahead and change frequencies, do a call out, do a radio check, make sure somebody's got me, and then hopefully someone will respond. And then hopefully the person that does respond is actually active in the area and can help me with whatever I need. Now, that's a lot of ifs leading up to actual communication. I'm not even talking about communicating the information that I want or trying to receive. So, within there, what you have some challenges beyond just the programming of your radio and trying to get that set up and changing frequencies and everything is what radio are you on? If you're on a mobile rig, then you'll probably be able to hit those towers. If you're not on a mobile rig and you're just on a handheld whip antenna, whatever the case might be, you're probably not going to hit those towers. But one thing that is available is cellular service. It's prominent, and it covers, it doesn't matter what cell service that you're talking about, whether it's T-Mobile or Verizon, AT&T, whatever the case might be. They all have LTE service, that long-term evolution service that will back up LTE push-to-talk technology. So I'm traveling on the interstate, and I am guaranteed, because my cell phone works, I'm guaranteed to pick up those signals every step of the way that I'm on this travel that I have. So the technology's there, the communication's there, and that's on a handy-talkie that doesn't require a mobile rig putting out 50 watts or anything. It's just a the wattage of a cellular service. I can, if it's pre-programmed, that's the concept of the MRS system, is I'm pre-programmed into groups that I can communicate with, and that's anyone that's on that group. It doesn't matter where they are geographically. I don't have to hop repeaters. I don't have to get them on the same frequency that I'm on. I'm just in that group and I can talk freely. So there's a lot of advantages to there on the covering the geographic gaps that we find with handy talkie services. Now, the question comes up concerning fallback, so emergency fallback. And some of the questions that have arisen so far concern loss of internet, loss of cellular service, loss of, well, in all actuality, that's something that we're dealing with all the time. As an emergency services amateur radio operator, the game plan that I have to play within is that nothing's going to work. So you as an emergency responder and communicator, you're bringing your equipment and talent forward for when things don't work. And that's the same with this service, is should this service that I'm proposing not work, you're still going to fall back to your 2 meter, your 70 centimeter, your 10 meter, your 20, 40 meter, whatever the case might be concerning getting the communication out there. So the MRS system as I'm proposing it is not a catch-all. It's not a one-stop shop for answers concerning emergency response. It's simply another tool in the toolbox to provide you simple coverage that is consistent and it's reliable. And then when that service fails for whatever reason, then you fall back on something else. So then the question comes up, well, how often should we expect that service to fail? Well, the fact of the matter is, how often does your cell phone not work? I mean, it's the same technology. That's what we're looking at leveraging is cellular service. So does it go down? Sure. AT&T has gone down maybe twice in the last couple years, whatever the case might be. You do have loss of service. You have tower outages, whatever the case might be. But that's rare. Then also from the standpoint of a disaster or an inclement weather, tornado, whatever the case might be, it depends on the severity of that and the totality of that impact. So if I have a tornado that's coming through my area, it's going to be highly unlikely that it's going to take out more than one tower at a time, and it's going to diminish the service that I can connect to. That's highly unlikely. So I still have the ability to respond in an emergency situation such as that in a manner that will most likely have a very high percentage of a chance of success. And again, you can always fall back to other amateur radio technologies. Now, in the case of a hurricane, I live on the Gulf Coast, or at least close to it in Louisiana. Katrina comes through, and in 2005, when Katrina came through, and it wiped out the entire Gulf Coast cellular network, all landlines were down. There was no communication there. Well, what had to be relied upon was amateur radio operators and private companies, but I'll make reference to amateur radio operators, had to go in with HF rigs or with mobile tower systems for 2 meter and set up relay stations. And even then, you set up a 100-foot mobile tower for a 2 meter relay, that's only going to get so far. Now, again, it's better than nothing, but at the same time, you're going to have HF transceivers that are getting a lot farther out. But then the problem is you got skip issue that jumps over anybody that you're wanting to talk to. So again, it depends on the situation and the technology you're going to use and the impact of the disaster, if you will, the emergency on hand. But hopefully that'll address some questions. I know this has been a lengthy video. I hope that you've gotten a little bit more insight on what I'm trying to work through, and I would encourage you to give me feedback. This is an idea in progress, and it's a process, and I want those critical feedback points so we can address those. A lot of it's going to be centered around not so much the technology, but procedure. How do we set this up as a network that works? The protocols that we use. Since it's not on a HF or FCC monitored frequencies and bands, and we can have quote civilians, or we'll just say non-amateur radio operators, licensed operators participating, then we have to train them up, because you still have to have radio protocol in order to give some sort of standard of normalcy and execution. But it opens up a lot of avenues for non-amateur radio operators to participate in Skywarn. Maybe not in Aries, but in Skywarn and local emergencies and that kind of thing, where we haven't had that opportunity. And it still has to be managed, that's understood, and governed. But again, I think the reach is going to be that much more expansive and impactful. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on, but at least it's going to give you, again, some information on the service that I'm proposing and look to be managing, and maybe it'll get some gears turning in your head as far as how will this work for my area? How will this benefit my organization, whether it be a club or disaster preparedness or response team or whatever the case might be, or civic club or community club or anything else, because again, we're not dealing with only amateur radio usage, we're dealing with managed radio services. And so from an amateur radio operator standpoint, it's a great way to get people involved that aren't licensed yet but may have an interest in amateur radio. You can get them participating without their license, but adhering to protocols, and then invite them into the family, so to speak, for amateur radio. Get them in your club. Great way to build the club. So anyway, I'll get this posted. Thanks for hanging on through this lengthy video, but go to the website, go to wb5vdg.com. That's Whiskey Bravo 5 Victor Delta Golf.com, and read through that material a couple times, get the concept. Meet us on our Facebook page. Just look up WB5VDG under groups for Facebook. You'll find us. Join, and I want your feedback. I want you to tell me what's not going to work, because that's one thing that amateur radio operators are good at, and I mean that in a good way, is we look for the deficiencies. We look for the areas that we need to cover and that we can make better, and that experimentation that takes us through there. So anyway, appreciate you hanging on with me on this road trip. I'll get this posted, and I'll post some more videos in the near future. Take care. 73s.